Carlos Santana is in a Philadelphia Phillies uniform. 3 years, $60 million. Yeah, it's a week after the signing, but we're here to talk about it. Tony Del Grasso, Adrian Fedke are here. So the first question right out of the gate, was this a good move by the Phillies?
I say yes. Yes. It's a little curious the way the roster looks right now. You see, everybody thought Hoskins was, the future at first base. Looks like that's going to be on hold for at least the next 3 years. He's going to be the left fielder, and Santana's going to be the first baseman. As we were talking about earlier, it certainly looks like they're going to trade either Altair, Williams, or Herrera for pitching. We'll see if and when that happens, but the writing's on the wall with that. Kind of doubt they go into the season with 4 legitimately starting outfielders. Dude is, first of all, we're talking about the baseball player, not the musician.
There's a baseball player named. I didn't know that. My bad, dude. I had no idea.
Carlos Santana died at first. No, he's an underrated player, dude. He gets on base, and I know I'm a broken record when it comes to that, but that's really the name of the game. And he gets on base with power. Switch hitter, which is also rare. There's only like 3 or 4 guys in all of baseball that have walked more than him in the past. I think like since 2012. He's really exactly what Clentac and the organization are looking for. They always talk about guys who can control the strike zone.
Positional flexibility.
Yes. He's going to be a nice veteran guy on the team. I'm glad you said positional flexibility because he has played other positions in the past. He actually came up as a catcher. Doubt he's ever going to catch for the Phillies, although it would be awesome if he somehow could catch once or twice a week for them, but I would say the chances of that are less than 1%. In the past, he's played a little corner outfield in the past, so if need be, he might possibly move, but I would say my prediction, if he gets 155 starts, I would say 153 of them are going to be at first base. So, but you never know. Also flexible in line. He actually led off for Cleveland a lot last year. I don't think a lot of people realize that. He's not a fast guy, but he gets on base, like I said, and that is really the name of the game.
Yeah.
He's averaged like 90-some walks the past 4 or 5 years. So
he's a guy that's going to have a 350 on base percentage. That's going to hit 20 to 30 home runs. He's a solid defender at first base. But the thing, my initial reaction was, all right, you're 31. Why are you bringing in a 31-year-old while you're trying to rebuild? So that'll be my follow-up question. Well, why do you bring a 31-year-old here in Philly? This reminds me of the Jim Thome situation again.
Yeah, I would say that might be the most concerning thing about the trade. But a guy like Santana, his biggest strengths are his power and his play discipline. And generally those aren't the kind of things that go in your early or mid-30s. And I also think the Phillies legitimately think biggest 2020 they could actually contend because we know they're going to spend a shit ton of money next offseason. They're going to bring some pitching in. And this team, even this year, maybe might be able to compete for a wild card. Yeah, you'd like him to be on the other side of 30, but I don't think it's super concerning because it's not like he's a guy who relies on his speed or anything like that. So,
yeah,
he should be fine.
All right.
And he's actually been very durable over the course of his career, too.
All right, so we talked about positional flexibility, and this is something that Gabe Kapler believes in. And I got some quotes for you guys that I'll read, and I'll kind of get your take on these, Tony. So this is going to give us an opportunity to mix and match and put these guys in the best possible position to succeed by matching them up effectively. One of the things that stood out to me about Carlos is absolute selflessness, absolute flexibility. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that quote actually implies that that they might not trade one of those 4 outfielders they have right now. you could play the matchups. When there's a left-handed pitcher, you start Altair. When there's a right-handed pitcher, you start Williams. That kind of thing makes sense, but also at the same time, I think they would rather have. But you
Yeah.
never know what happen. But yeah, that's really the name of the game now is you could play multiple positions and creating a lineup day in and day out. That's at 1 through 8. You actually have guys who are going to be able to attack the opposing pitcher appropriately.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Gabe Kapler handles this season because during that introductory press conference, he said he's going to be changing the game. He's going to be doing new things, not being afraid to go against old traditions. So this is going to be a very analytics-based team. There's been a lot of talk about launch angles this offseason, basically a cute way to say we want to hit more home runs. So what's that?
And cocoa butter. Cocoa, whatever it was.
So positional flexibility, we talked about that. And the thing here is, so you're going to have Rhys Hoskins playing left field, and you're going to have Santana at first base. So something that they want to do is score more runs this year. And, they're going to take a hit in left field defensively, but they're upgrading their offense by bringing Santana in here, and you got Hoskins in left field. So, sure, the defense goes down, but I mean, left field is a position where you can hide somebody defensively. We've seen it with Manny Ramirez in the past, and even here in Philadelphia with Pat Burrell.
Yeah, let's not forget they won a World Series with Pat Burrell playing left field.
Yeah.
You kind of doubt Hoskins is going to be worse than that. Not that Burrell was horrible, but he certainly was below average. At that, Santana is actually one of the better defensive first baseman in baseball too. He almost won the Gold Glove. Not that that really means anything, but he's legitimately a very good defender. So, and you factor that the offense is clearly going to be better. It's definitely an upgrade for the team. Santana is also a switch hitter. I think Kapler said that you can bat him 1 through 4 in the lineup, so a lot of flexibility, and obviously that allows them to probably make a move and add another starting pitcher.
Now, I think a reason why there are a lot of Phillies fans that don't like this signing, I think they look at his batting average and just make an assumption that, well, that's what he is, because you look at his last couple seasons, 259 last year, 259 2016, 231 2015, 231 in 2014. Well, that gets back to our point about on-base percentage. I mean, if you walk, that's the equivalent of a single. That's one base. So, I feel like with the batting average, you kind of have to look at it with a grain of salt. You have to look at it from a different angle. I mean, 113 walks in 2014 to go with that 231 batting average. So at the end of the day, that on base is 365.
Right. I actually, for example, like you were just talking about that. There's a guy on Twitter who said, I can't believe they gave $60 million to a career 249 hitter. And I just want to smack somebody like that, frankly. That's just such a dumb way to look at hitters. 30 out of 30 teams now in Major League Baseball will tell you that batting average, actually evaluating how effective a hitter is, top 10. It's really so insignificant. It's so much more important about how often a guy gets on base, and that's what Santana does. And Santana not only gets on base, he does it with power. Switch hitter, good defender. He's a really, really good ball player.
Yeah. All right. So basically, at the end of the day, we don't think that this signing was a mistake, but it'll look like a mistake if they're not winning right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, this definitely adds a little pressure to everyone that not necessarily the time is now, but be a 70 or 75 win team anymore. I think at least 500 is realistic. Phillies baseball is almost about to be back, and it's going to be exciting. They're actually going to have a competitive team and a young team. I mean, Santana. Let's not forget, Santana is going to be the only guy on the 25-man roster that's going to be over 30. So it's still going to be
Yeah.
a super.
Yeah. All right. I have a quote from Matt Klentak. And here's this quote about Santana. So, and possibly whether or not they can take a step forward this year. I expect us to be the best club we can possibly be, given our personnel. We have a lot of young players, and with that, there's some uncertainty. We know that young players don't come with the same track record that a veteran comes with, but we believe a lot of those players have a chance to take a step forward this year. And you look at their record, second half of the year, 37 and 38 after the All-Star break. So they were a 500 team in the second half of the season, and obviously that's when the influx of young talent came in, led by Reese Hoskins, obviously.
Right, and that influx of young talent is going to continue because obviously with them trading Freddie Galvis, thank God. I love you, Freddie, but good. The man at shortstop opening day. And you're probably going to see Scott Kingery. That probably won't be until May, but you never know if they trade Cesar Hernandez. It's possible they so. And eventually you're going to see some young pitching come up too. So those young pitchers might not be here until next year. We're going to really start hearing about Sixto Sanchez and Killamay and those guys because they're going to be in Double-A to start. Really turn heads. Maybe you see those guys at the end of this year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you talked about young pitchers, and that's something that has been talked about as well. So when Santana got brought in here, there were Phillies fans scratching their heads, wondering, why do we all of a sudden have all these outfielders? And then it was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Maybe they're going to trade one of those guys for a pitcher. So the three that I've heard being speculated, you got Chris Archer, Michael Fulmer, and who am I missing? I'm blanking. Who did I forget? Garrett Cole. So out of those three, what would you want the Phillies to do? Do you want one of those pitchers?
I want all those pitchers. If I had my choice, I'd probably go Garrett Cole because of age and upside. I mean, Garrett Cole is an overall pick for a reason. He maybe hasn't quite lived up to it, but the signs are there that he's a potential future ace. It's not like he's been bad. He's been good. The reason that the Pirates are trading him is because they realize I think they only have on him. So with their market, they probably understand they're not going to be able to trade him or to re-sign him, excuse me. So they're probably going to do the smart move and prospects back because if he hits free agency, he's going to make a ton of money. Archer is he had a rough end to last year, but he's very good. He walks too many batters, which is a concern. He's also a little older than people think. I think he's already 30. I think a lot of people think he's like 25. That's not old. And who's there? Michael Fulmer. Yeah, Fulmer's a guy who kind of went under the radar, but he's also a very good young pitcher. If the Phillies end up trading for one of those guys, and say they sign Alex Cobb or Lance Lynn or something like that, a decent rotation, and should be much better this year. They re-signed Neshek.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Who else did they get? They signed another good reliever.
Tommy Hunter.
Tommy Hunter. There you go. So he had that in, and I'm sure they're going to bring in some younger guys to compete for spots. Like I said, this team is getting there. It's much closer than I think a lot of guys.
Yeah. All right. So before we wrap up here, just kind of questions on last week because you weren't able to attend. the show. So, thoughts on the Manny Machado speculation, and what did you think of that?
I think it sucks if you're an Orioles fan, because this is just kind of how baseball works. Well, first of all, he's one of the best players in baseball, hands down. Last year, he actually didn't have a very good year. A lot of people are kind of overlooking that, but his OPS last year was like 780 something. He had like a 310 on base percentage, but he still hit 33 home runs, and his track record before that was much better. And I believe he's only 25 years old still. He wants to move to shortstop. He could probably be Gold Glove caliber shortstop. He's already an amazing third baseman. He's going to be very good defensively and power. The Orioles are probably doing the right thing. I know they're playing hardball right now, saying, they just recently came out and said we're not trading him because we're not getting back, the right offers for him, which is, of course, what they're going to say. But everybody knows they have to trade him. Keep him this year, it would be a colossal mistake because there's no way they're going to re-sign him, so can return. I mean, you see this happen all the time. I mean, pretty much almost every year there's a situation similar to this, or a few situations similar to this, that Machado is the best players in the game and one of the faces of baseball.
Yeah. All right. That pretty much wraps it up, man. We did the winter meeting show last week. We did something on Carlos Santana today. Maybe we'll do something next week. I don't know. I don't know what the topic would be, but if there's some news made, we'll do something. Anything else you want to say? Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I could look at comments real quick, see if anyone left anything. See if our man Sean Fitzpatrick's in here.
The thing about Machado that is also hurting the Orioles is because, see, realistically, they should have probably done this like last year before the deadline.
Yeah.
When more leverage, because at this point, everybody knows they have to trade him. And in time, everybody also knows that unless they make a trade and are able to work out a deal with his agents where they trade him and sign him long term, nobody's going to give up a shit ton of their best prospects for him, or even half a year.
Exactly. And the Phillies, I mean, you're not going to give up Sixto for – no, that's not happening. All right.
When you could just –
Yeah. So, all right. So I do have a comment here. Somebody that didn't like the signing. So he goes, I'll be honest, his batting average stinks compared to the other first baseman we have. I can't stand the signing. This is what he freaking is. He's just going to get older. At least it isn't as bad as the Pujols signing, but his batting average is only going to go down. He's getting old. So there you go with the batting average thing.
I don't mean to sound like just like I don't even know the word for it. I don't mean to sound like pompous, but that's just a way to look at a hitter. Like it really, it's almost on par with looking at a pitcher's win-loss record and judging that by if he's good or not. Better ways to evaluate a hitter. It's just I don't even know where to go with that.
Well, basically, on-base percentage is a good tool to use sometimes as well. And if you walk a lot, like, again, it goes back to the point I made earlier. A walk is the equivalent of a single. And Carlos Santana has one of the best eyes in the game. I mean, he walks a ton. So you're basically getting all those walks. Those are all singles. So you can add all those walks to the batting average, and there's your on-base percentage, and he's over 350.
Yeah, and at the same time, sometimes you see a hitter who is a 295 hitter, but they almost never walk, and their on-base percentage is barely over 300. Well, you'd still rather have the guy who's hitting 240 but getting on base 350 over that guy hitting 290.
I mean, you just talked about Machado. His OBP was 310, you said, right?
Right. Yeah, like I said, last year he actually wasn't – I mean, he still hit like 33 home runs, I think, or something like that. he really wasn't very good last year. You're basing everything else on his track record the years before that, where he was, you see, like I said, he's still not even really in his prime yet.
Yeah. I think the other thing that people don't like is the $20 million a year. $20 million a year. I know it's a ridiculous amount of money, but it's not a ridiculous amount of money for baseball players.
Right? Yeah, it's market value.
Yeah.
Don't play or hate the game, man. That's what guys make.
So there you go. So yeah, I was on the anti-Santana signing, group to begin right after it happened, and then as I kind of looked into it more, I'm with it. They need to win now though. Like there's no fucking around anymore. There's no rebuild. No, they have to win this season now.
The one thing that concerns me is I saw some splits of Hoskins' numbers when he was in left field compared to when he was at first base.
Yeah,
and he hit much better as a first baseman. If that continue, I don't know if that's just kind of a mental thing.
Is there a reason for that? Like, or is that just like pure luck? Like, why would somebody's batting average go down by switching positions?
The only thing I could realistically, there's probably nothing there. It's probably just coincidence. But let's not forget that last year was the first time he had played left field, or he had played outfield consistently. So he was still getting acclimated to it, still getting back into the outfield thing. But, he'll have a whole offseason. He'll have blah, blah, blah to get used to left field again. And it won't be in his head so much. So, anything there.
There you go. I could see that. Okay. That's about it, man. That's it. We're done. We're done. You got a final thought?
No.
No.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's to everybody. Whoever is an avid watcher of the Bitter Birds. So hopefully you guys get great presents. I'm going to be getting coal because I'm an asshole, and that's the way it is. So for Tony Del Grasso, I am Adrian Fedke. We're out. Peace.